Welcome to Wild Dreams. Before we begin, take a moment to settle into comfort. Close your eyes. Let your breathing slow. If you'd like, leave a comment below, telling us where you are in the world and what time it is right now. Tonight, we travel to a hidden world, an emerald labyrinth where rain mist through giant leaves, where ancient trees stretch toward the sky like silent guardians, and where one creature moves so gently that time itself seems to slow around it. Tonight, we follow the mysterious life of the sloth. Relax and let the journey begin. Moist air drifts through the rainforest canopy like breath from the earth itself. A soft glow emerges as dawn pierces layers of green, scattering droplets of light across the leaves. Everything here seems to shimmer. The rainforest is awakening, but somewhere, high above the forest floor, a creature remains still. So still that even the morning breeze appears to move faster than it does. Clinging motionless to the mossy branch of a towering cecropia tree is a three-toed sloth. Her fur is a muted mix of brown and soft grey, yet dappled with something unusual, patches of pale green. It looks like moss, but it isn't. These faint green streaks are algae, tiny living organisms that grow in her coat. They are a part of her story, a part of her camouflage, and a part of the delicate balance that keeps her alive. She blinks slowly, a gesture so gentle and unhurried that it feels like watching time dissolve. A thin ray of light reaches her side, illuminating her calm, glassy eyes. If peace had a face, if patience was embodied in fur and bone, it would be the sloth. Below her, the rainforest pulsates with life. Insects whir, frogs chirp, monkeys leap from branch to branch. But here, in her little pocket of stillness, the sloth waits. She always waits. And this is where our story begins. The sloth stretches one arm, slowly, deliberately, curling her long, hook-like claws around the next branch. She doesn't grip the tree the way we would. Instead, she hangs. Her claws act like natural climbing gear, keeping her suspended with hardly any effort. To move even a single meter can take her more than a minute. But she is in no hurry. She never is. For the sloth, energy is precious. In this world where movement is life and speed means survival, she has chosen a different path, a path of stillness, a path of presence. The rainforest rewards patience. Far below her, sunlight filters down into the deep understory. The air is warm and thick with the scent of damp earth. Leaves drip condensation like slow tears. Every surface is covered in life, algae growing on bark, vines spiraling toward the canopy, ants marching in endless rivers. The rainforest is crowded, noisy, and relentless. But high in the treetops, there is space. Breeze, quiet. Sloths live where few other animals dare to linger, in the delicate architecture of the canopy. Up here, one misstep could mean falling tens of meters to the forest floor. But the sloth is not afraid. She trusts her claws. She trusts the branch. She trusts the slow rhythm of her world. She moves again, inching herself toward a cluster of fresh, tender leaves. She leans forward and bites into one. Her chewing is lazy, motionless, as if frozen in time. This is breakfast. Leaves. Only leaves. For a creature her size, they offer little protein, little fat, and very little energy. Most animals that rely on leaves are constantly eating, like giant pandas or giraffes. But giraffes move with purpose. Pandas chew for hours. Sloths? They take minimalism to the extreme. Her stomach, filled with bacteria that slowly break down her meal, is like a fermentation tank. It can take a month for her to digest a single leaf. A month. Every movement must be worth the energy it consumes. Every shift in position is a small investment. Every step is measured against survival. And so, the sloth moves only when she must. Far away, something stirs. The dry rustle of feathers. A harpy eagle glides above the treetops. Its wings slice through the air like knives of silence. The sloth does not look up. She does not panic. Speed would not save her. Nothing would. The harpy eagle can dive at speeds over 80 kilometers an hour. Sloths do not outrun danger. They survive by disappearing. Their stillness is their camouflage. From above, the algae in her fur blends her into the leaves. She becomes part of the tree. She becomes invisible. The eagle scans the canopy, searching for movement, but finds nothing. The sloth remains motionless, breathing, existing. Sometimes doing nothing is the best defense of all. Hours pass. The rainforest changes. Clouds gather. The forest becomes dim again. Deep thunder rumbles across the sky like a slow heartbeat. Rain begins to patter, starting as a whisper, then as a roar. The canopy becomes a drum under the sudden downpour. The sloth does not flee from the rain. She turns her head, almost imperceptibly, and allows the water to soak her fur. The algae within it thrives on moisture, and in return offers her camouflage. It is a partnership, a tiny ecosystem living on her body. Within the fibers of her fur live not only algae, but moths and beetles, small insects drawn to the sloth for shelter. And when the sloth descends to the forest floor to defecate, something she does only once a week, the moths lay their eggs in the feces, continuing a cycle that has existed for millions of years. To us, it may sound strange, but in nature, nothing is wasted. Everything participates in the dance. Night approaches. Darkness pulls itself through the trees, wrapping the forest in velvet. The sloth moves to a new branch and settles into a cradle of leaves, curling herself into an upside-down ball. She sleeps. But her story is only beginning. Because somewhere, not too far from her, another sloth is awake. He is larger, heavier, and his limbs are packed with quiet strength. His fur is darker, and his face bears the faint markings of a mask. This is a male two-toed sloth, a different species, larger, more solitary, and more cautious. He moves through the treetops under the cover of darkness, guided by senses far more attuned than we might imagine. Sloths may appear slow, but they are not simple. They hear the rustle of insects, they feel vibrations through the branches, and their sense of touch is astonishingly refined. He reaches upward, claws hooking the next branch, his body flowing with a strange grace. Every movement is deliberate. It is not laziness, it is efficiency. Unlike the female who ate earlier, this sloth is not searching for leaves alone. He is listening. His deep-set eyes scan the shadows. Tonight, he is searching for company. And somewhere in the forest, faint but distinct, a soft call echoes, a whistle-like cry, rising into the night. A female. He pauses. The rain slows. He listens again. The forest is full of sounds. Frogs croak, insects trill, raindrops patter onto leaves. But the sloth hears the one note that matters. He moves toward it, slowly, yes, but with purpose. He knows that every journey, even the longest, begins with one reach, one claw, one branch. Below him, lightning reveals the forest in bursts of white. Thunder follows, rolling like distant drums. Raindrops, slide across his fur, tracing patterns down the algae-coated strands. This algae, unique in the animal kingdom, gives sloths a miniature ecosystem. Not only do they carry algae, the algae carry nutrients. And scientists believe that in exchange, the sloth may absorb a small amount of these nutrients through their skin or when grooming. The sloth is not just one creature. The sloth is a living forest. Everything about him is designed for coexistence, not conquest. A branch sways beneath his weight, but he adjusts without effort. His long arms extend further than his legs, and his shoulders rotate almost fully backward, a freedom of movement unmatched in mammals. He reaches another branch, another step forward on his quiet mission. Above him, a pair of bright eyes watches, a kinkajou nimble and curious, its golden fur shimmering under stray beams of moonlight. It leaps effortlessly from branch to branch, moving circles around the sloth. The kinkajou has no interest in him, only in the nectar hidden within blossoms. In contrast, the sloth moves with such care that not even a single leaf shivers as he passes. The kinkajou darts off, disappearing into the darkness like a spark. The sloth continues, slow, steady, unstoppable, because sloths are slow on purpose. Their movements generate almost no noise, no vibrations. They are ghosts of the canopy, unnoticed by predator and prey alike. To move slowly is not a weakness. It is a strategy. The call echoes again. The female's voice, soft and distant. The male lifts his head. His heart, steady and slow, beats just a little faster. He has found a direction. He begins to climb. The male sloth continues deeper into the rainforest canopy, guided not by urgency, but by instinct. In the world of sloths, even the search for companionship is unhurried. High above the forest, he feels the gentle vibration of wind through the branch he clings to. Sloths understand their world through touch. Their claws, long, curved like natural climbing tools, lock around the branch without effort. Because of the structure of their tendons, they don't actively grip. Their body weight causes the claws to tighten automatically. They can hang for hours without using a bit of muscle. It is efficiency perfected. He reaches for another branch. It's slick with moisture from the recent rain. His claws slide for a moment before finding purchase. For a sloth, even slipping is slow. Below him, a burst of movement reveals a troop of capuchin monkeys. Agile, loud, and endlessly curious, they leap from branch to branch with reckless enthusiasm. Their chatter echoes through the canopy, energetic and urgent. The sloth does not react. He is not part of their world. He does not compete. He does not chase. He does not flee. He simply is. Sloths survive not through speed or strength, but through being overlooked. In a forest where predators key in on motion, stillness is power. He moves again, each limb shifting with deliberate precision. The branch bends under his weight, swaying gently. As he settles, a soft rustle sounds beneath him. A leafcutter ant parade moves along the branch's underside. A tiny army marching with fragments of green leaves held like flags. Their bodies shimmer with raindrops, their determination fierce and tireless. The sloth watches for a moment. The ants seem like a completely different world, moving as if time is pushing them forward. Yet in their own way, they are as slow and steady as the sloth. They work constantly, all night, all day, generation after generation, never stopping. The rainforest is full of motion, full of noise, but the sloth remains separate from that noise, floating through it, untouched. His journey continues. Meanwhile, Back in the cecropia tree, the female three-toed sloth stirs. Dawn again. Soft golden light streams through the canopy, warming the damp leaves, waking every creature. Birds erupt into song. Macaws screech. Toucans call in hollow croaks. Tiny hummingbirds buzz like living jewels. The sloth opens her eyes. Three-toed sloths are actually more closely related to anteaters than to monkeys. Their faces are shaped into what looks like an eternal smile, an illusion created by bone structure and gentle eyes. But in reality, they feel emotions as deeply as any other mammal. She moves her head just a few degrees, scanning her world upside down. Despite spending most of their lives inverted, sloths rarely get dizzy. Their organs are attached by fibrous tissue that prevents pressure from shifting uncomfortably as gravity pulls downward. Humans could never hang upside down for hours without discomfort. But sloths evolve for it. She reaches for a new cluster of leaves. The leaves of the cecropia tree are her favorite. Soft, tender, easy to digest. Not all leaves are safe. Some rainforest plants are toxic. Yet sloths, with their slow metabolisms and specialized stomach bacteria, can handle a surprising range of chemical defenses. She chews slowly, tasting the leaf. Her gastrointestinal system is one of the strangest among mammals. It can hold up to 30% of her body weight in food, like a human carrying around the weight of a microwave inside their abdomen every day. She eats, slowly, peacefully. High above, a brilliant blue morpho butterfly flutters past, its wings flashing like coins of metallic light, caught between branches. For a moment, even the sloth watches it. Beauty is everywhere here. Deep in the forest, the male sloth continues his journey. He pauses when he reaches a gap in the canopy, a break where a tree has fallen years ago during a storm. Sunlight bursts through, leaving no safe branch to cling to. The sloth leans forward, extending his arm. He stretches, almost, but the next branch is still just out of reach. He hangs suspended, body stretched like a loose rope. He withdraws, choosing another path. This is why sloths rarely leave the trees. The canopy is their world, their home, their safety, their food source. Traveling across gaps is risky. A misjudged reach could send them plummeting to the forest floor. On the ground, sloths are slow, almost helpless. Their curved claws, perfect for hanging, are awkward on flat earth. They must drag themselves, pulling forward with their arms, hind legs trailing behind. Down there, predators wait. Jaguars, ocelots, even large snakes. Sloths don't escape through speed. They escape through invisibility. The male chooses a new route, moving into the shadows where the foliage thickens. A maze of vines and branches forms a safe bridge to another tree. Back in her cecropia tree, the female finishes eating. Slowly, calmly, she rotates her body and begins her descent, not toward more leaves, but toward the ground. This is rare. This is dangerous. Sloths only descend to the forest floor for one reason. They have to go to the bathroom once a week, only once. Scientists have puzzled over this for decades. Sloths could defecate from the trees. Gravity would take care of the rest. But they don't. They choose the ground, the most dangerous place in their world. Some think this ritual strengthens their bond with the algae and the moths that live in their fur, the very organisms that help camouflage them.
Others think it might be a way of communicating with other sloths, leaving information through scent.
Whatever the reason, the sloth begins her descent. She turns herself upright for this moment. Her claws dig into the bark, her limbs shaking slightly with the effort. Sloths may spend most of their time hanging, but descending requires strength, careful, precise strength. A quarter of the way down, halfway down. She pauses, chest expanding slowly. She continues, and finally, she reaches the forest floor, the most dangerous place she will visit all week. She digs a small depression with her claws and defecates. The moths in her fur become active immediately, fluttering down to lay eggs in the feces. When the young hatch, they will climb up her legs into her fur, continuing the cycle that keeps her algae ecosystem alive. When she finishes, she covers the small mound with fallen leaves. And then she begins the long climb back to her sanctuary in the canopy. It will take most of her energy for the day. She will not rush, because sloths do not rush, ever. Far away, the male sloth hears the female call again, a soft, melodic whistle echoing across the canopy. This time, it sounds closer. He stops moving. For a moment, the rainforest seems to breathe with him. He reaches for a new branch. His claws hook. His journey continues. Hours later, clouds gather, thick and heavy. Afternoon storms are common here, predictable, powerful, and brief. The first drop hits the leaf near his head, then another, then 1,000 drops at once. The rain becomes a curtain. He keeps moving. Sloths do not mind storms. Their fur is designed to wick water away, and the algae living in it thrives in humidity. While other animals flee to dens and nests, sloths simply exist within the rain. The male stops when he sees her, a shape in the distance, clinging to a branch, still, waiting. He moves closer, cautiously, slowly. He sniffs the air, detecting her scent. A calm moment hangs between them. Inches apart, they study each other with quiet interest. Their meeting is gentle, unhurried, intentional. An exchange of presence, not possession. A simple moment, a necessary moment. And just like that, life continues. The rainforest exhales. The storm softens. The sky darkens into night once again. The female settles into a nest of leaves, her body low and comfortable. The male stays nearby for a time, watching the moon through gaps in the canopy. No words, no sounds, only stillness. In the world of sloths, nothing is forced. Everything unfolds slowly, naturally, beautifully. Even time seems to stretch. The night envelops the canopy in muted blues and deep greens. The rain has washed the forest clean, and every leaf glistens under the moonlight like polished glass. A warm mist rises from the forest floor, blurring shapes and softening sound until the entire world feels wrapped in cotton. The female sloth sleeps, curled into the crook of the branch. Her breathing is slow, barely noticeable, and her heart beats just 24 times each minute. In comparison, the hearts of an average mammal her size would beat nearly 4 times faster. Every cell in her body waits patiently, doing only what is essential, nothing more. Nearby, the male sloth rests as well. He isn't asleep. Sloths don't sleep deeply, but he exists in a state of relaxed stillness. His eyes remain half open as he surveys the forest in the dim moonlight. Sloths do not waste awareness. They feel vibrations through branches. They sense shifts in wind. They notice with astonishing clarity the subtle cracks and creaks of the canopy around them. Slow never meant unaware. A faint rustle emerges below. A creature walking across the forest floor. The male tilts his head, listening. A small shadow slinks through the undergrowth. It is an ocelot, sleek and silent, moving with liquid grace. Its golden eyes scan the branches above, searching for food. Unlike the harpy eagle, an ocelot hunts by patience, not flight. It watches, it waits, and if it sees movement overhead, it climbs. But the sloth remains motionless. The ocelot continues its silent patrol, slipping between shafts of moonlight like smoke. In minutes, it disappears back into the gloom. The sloth exhales slowly and resumes his calm half-sleep. High above him, another creature stirs. A tiny brown bat, no larger than a thumb. It leaves the shelter of a palm frond and launches into the cool air with a burst of energy. Bats move fast. They know that every second counts. They do not have the luxury of slowness. And so, without competing, the forest weaves an intricate tapestry of opposites. Slowness and speed, stillness and motion, patience and urgency. The sloth persists quietly within it all. The night deepens, moisture thickens the air, and the world becomes soft again. The male sloth shifts his body and reaches for a nearby leaf. Unlike the female, he eats a slightly more varied diet. Two-toed sloths are opportunistic. They'll nibble fruit, tender shoots, blossoms, even the occasional insect if it's close to their mouth. He eats whatever offers nutrition, but always in small amounts, always sparingly. His stomach processes slowly. Sloths cannot afford wastefulness, even in digestion. Everything in their biology whispers a single message: spend as little energy as possible. And yet, despite their deliberate pace, sloths are astonishingly strong. A sloth can lift its entire body weight with one arm. Baby sloths cling to their mothers with pure grip strength, sometimes for months at a time. He moves again, not toward the female, but toward another spread of branches. The interaction between them was brief, calm. Sloths do not form pairs. Their connection is seasonal, ephemeral, guided by instinct. The male begins to leave. He does not look back. His journey will continue, guided by the rising sun and the structure of the trees. In the slow dance of the rainforest, he will spend days traveling between food sources and preferred resting spots. He will live mostly unseen. He will remain a mystery. The female watches him go. She does not chase. She does not follow. In her world, the canopy provides everything she needs. She moves now with more intent. She reaches for leaves again, eating slowly, nourishing more than just herself. Deep in her body, a new life has begun. Her slow metabolism gives her baby the same gift it gives her: calm, steady development with little stress and little urgency. Pregnancy in sloths lasts many months. Life grows in silence. The morning returns. Sunlight pierces through curtains of leaves. Fog burns away. The canopy warms quickly, and the sloth shifts into a patch of shade. She selects a new branch and begins to climb. Sloths rarely stay in one place for long. They rotate through trees, allowing leaves time to grow back. In doing so, they keep small pockets of the forest healthy. Every movement has purpose. Below her, a river glints through a break in the foliage. It threads through the rainforest like a living vein, carrying nutrients and life downstream. The water is shallow today, but during rainy months, it rises high enough to swallow entire sections of forest floor. Sloths can swim when they must, and surprisingly, they swim quite well. In fact, sloths are 3 times faster in water than on land. Their long limbs act like paddles, and their lungs inflate like a natural flotation device. She does not need that skill now, but it lives within her, ready. A branch cracks nearby, not from her weight and not from wind. She turns her head slowly, just a few degrees, toward the noise. A toucan lands beside her, its oversized beak shining in the morning light. The bird regards her with bright curiosity, or perhaps skepticism, as if unsure whether she is alive. Sloths move so slowly that sometimes even birds question their presence. With a flash of color, the toucan hops closer, then snatches a berry from a nearby cluster. It tosses the fruit into the air and catches it in its beak before swallowing it whole. Then it flies off in a burst of energy. The sloth blinks. She resumes eating. Minutes blend into hours. The rainforest pulses with constant movement, but around her, time seems to stretch. This is how sloths experience the world, not in seconds or minutes, but in sensations and stillness. Later, a warm breeze carries the scent of ripening fruit. Far off, howler monkeys begin their morning chorus, their deep calls echoing across the canopy like distant thunder. They announce territory. They declare power. Sloths do not need to announce anything. Their life is lived in quiet clarity. She climbs again, choosing a branch with fresh leaves. Her body swings slightly as she hangs upside down, effortlessly anchored by her claws. As she chews, a gust of wind ripples across the canopy. Her fur lifts as the breeze moves through it, revealing a faint green tint, algae thriving on her coat. The algae help her blend in. The sloth provides a home. Even her fur grows in reverse. Human hair grows downward. Sloth hair grows upward, creating small grooves that channel rainwater and provide space for algae to cling. Even her biology is designed for her lifestyle. Softly, the rainforest shifts from morning into afternoon. She rests. She digests. She moves only when she needs to. Days pass this way. The baby growing quietly within her becomes a whisper of the future, a future that will soon hold new challenges and new rhythms. But today, she simply exists. Calm, effortless existence in a world that demands urgency from everything else. She closes her eyes. The rainforest breathes around her. Nothing rushes, nothing forces her forward. In the stillness of the canopy, she is exactly where she needs to be, and she sleeps. The sloth sleeps in a cradle of leaves as another day passes. The forest cycles between warmth and rain, between birdsong and stillness. Life in the canopy is measured not by hours, but by energy, by what must be done and what can wait for tomorrow. Weeks pass. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the female sloth's shape changes. Her belly becomes rounder. When she moves, she does so with slightly more caution. She spends longer resting, takes her time choosing the tenderest leaves, and stays near familiar branches. In a world where every movement is a calculation, pregnancy requires even more care. Her body shifts its priorities. Digestion slows further. Her heart beats a little harder to support the new life forming inside her. Rainfall becomes a constant companion. Afternoon storms roll through with dramatic force, shaking the canopy. Lightning flashes behind thick curtains of leaves, illuminating the forest in stark white for a heartbeat before darkness folds back in. Thunder follows, deep and resonant, but the sloth remains calm. She presses herself closer to the branch and waits for the energy of the storm to pass. Wind sweeps through the upper canopy, bending branches like dancers moving in slow arcs. While monkeys cling tightly and birds take shelter, the sloth lets the movement carry her. Her curved claws hold firm, and her grip never falters. even upside down, even half asleep, in the middle of a windstorm. No matter the weather, her body is built to stay anchored. She has no nest, no den, no safe tree hollow. Her only shelter is stillness. Finally, the storms subside, leaving the air cool and washed clean. A soft mist rises from the forest floor, and droplets cling to every leaf and vine, magnifying the greens around her into brilliant emerald. The baby will come soon. Her movements are slower now, even for a sloth. She chooses lower branches so the climb to the ground, her weekly ritual, will cost less energy. She descends one morning, heavy and deliberate. With the same mysterious instinct that guides sloths everywhere, she digs a small hollow in the soil with her claws. She relieves herself, and the cycle of moths, algae, and forest life continues. Long ago, scientists wondered why sloths risked their lives making this dangerous descent. But now, new research suggests that the nutrients from the moths and algae in her fur may benefit her diet. What looks like a simple act, just a sloth going to the bathroom, might actually nourish her. She finishes, covers the earth gently with leaves, and begins climbing back to her sanctuary by entry. One claw hook at a time, she rises through filtered sunlight. Days later, while resting in a forked branch sheltered from the wind, she goes still. Her breathing deepens, muscles tighten. The rainforest around her becomes silent, as if even insects know that something profound is happening. She gives birth. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is slow. A tiny, wet bundle emerges, no larger than a human hand. The infant sloth blinks in the filtered light, disoriented. Its fur is soft, its claws miniature, but already curved. Instinct guides it toward its mother's chest. The newborn clings to her with surprising strength, gripping her fur with tiny hooks of determination. The mother makes no sound, but something changes in her posture. Her head lowers, her body stills, her breathing deepens. If love could be measured in movement, in stillness, in presence, it would look like this moment. The baby clings tightly. The mother begins to climb. From his vantage point in another corner of the forest, the male two-toed sloth rests. He does not know about the birth. Sloths do not form family groups. Their lives intersect briefly, then continue separately. But connected or not, each plays a role in sustaining the fragile balance of the forest. The mother sloth moves with new purpose, not speed, but intention. Every branch, every leaf, every pause matters more now. She positions her body carefully so the baby remains safe and pressed against her chest. Days stretch into weeks, and the baby grows steadier. He nurses often, drinking milk rich with fat and nutrients. The mother's body burns precious energy to support him, so she eats constantly, small bites throughout the day and night. Sloths eat slowly, not because they are lazy, but because energy management is their survival strategy. One wrong move would cost them more than merely exhaustion. As the weeks pass, the baby's fur thickens. His eyes grow curious. He begins to explore his mother's body, touching her face gently with miniature claws. When she climbs, he clings. When she rests, he sleeps with his face pressed into the soft fur at her neck. She rarely leaves the tree now. The canopy becomes their entire universe. One afternoon, sunlight pierces the leaves just right, illuminating them in warm gold. The baby experiments with stretching one arm toward a nearby twig. He sways. His small claws hook the bark. An incredible moment, his first independent grip. The mother watches,
She does not interfere.
She trusts the branch. She trusts the baby. She trusts the slowness. Sloths learn by doing. There are no lessons, no calls, no grooming sessions that resemble primates. Survival is learned through touch, through grip, through time spent hanging above an unforgiving distance. The baby releases the branch and returns to her chest, exhausted from the effort. The mother shifts slightly to support him, and together they sway gently in the light breeze. Another week passes. The baby begins tasting leaves, mimicking his mother. He chews with a face of intense concentration, then spits the leaf out. A moment later, he tries again. His instincts are correct, but his taste takes practice. Learning takes time. Everything in a sloth's life takes time. Months pass, and the baby becomes heavier. He clings less tightly. His movements grow more confident, and he explores his mother's back, climbing up her arm and down again. His world is expanding, one branch at a time. When he finally moves onto a nearby branch alone, it is slow, wobbling, uncertain. He reaches too far. He slips. In a moment of instinct, the mother swings her arm beneath him and catches him with her claws. Even this rescue is slow, steady, precise. She pulls him close again. The rainforest continues its rhythm around them. Raindrops forming miniature rivers down leaves, monkeys calling from distant canopies, the flap of wings from birds passing overhead. Nothing stops, nothing waits, but sloths do not race time. They live beside it. Eventually, there comes a moment, not on any particular day, not marked by any announcement, when the baby sloth climbs onto a branch and does not return immediately. He sits alone, inches away but independent. His mother chews her leaves calmly, watching without turning her head. This is how sloths teach independence, not by pushing their young away, but by remaining nearby while they discover their own grip on the world. He climbs a second branch, then a third. He pauses, looks back, sees her. She remains still. He climbs farther. He's not leaving her yet. He will stay close for many months. But each day he explores farther, learning his own routes through the canopy. One day, far into the future, he will take his own place in this forest, nurturing algae in his own fur, choosing patience in a world that demands speed. For now, he stretches toward a new leaf and takes his first determined bite. It is bitter. He chews anyway. The rainforest hums around them, alive with urgency, movement, chaos. And in the center of it all, a mother and her baby remain suspended in peace. Stillness as survival, slowness as wisdom, patience as power. The canopy continues to sway, and life goes on. The young sloth continues exploring, his movements uncertain but filled with curiosity. His claws slip once in a while, and every small slip becomes a lesson in balance. The canopy around him becomes a training ground. Branches form highways, vines create obstacles, and leaves become stepping stones between mistakes and mastery. His mother watches. She rarely intervenes. Her role now is presence, quiet observation, and steady patience. The baby learns not by instruction, but by existing in the trees long enough for the forest to teach him. He reaches for a young leaf and nibbles. It tastes different from the leaves he stole from his mother's mouth, slightly more bitter. He scrunches his face, then tries again. One bite, then another. Learning, always learning. Nearby, a troop of squirrel monkeys leaps into sight, their chatter loud and chaotic. They move like bursts of lightning, darting, lunging, swinging. They stop briefly near the young sloth, studying him with comical curiosity. One monkey reaches out and touches his fur. The baby freezes, wide-eyed, small mouth parted as though he might gasp. But he makes no sound. The monkey squeaks. Then the entire troop moves on, leaving behind nothing but shaking branches and an echo of laughter. The baby sloth finally blinks. He returns to his mother, exhausted from the interaction. Not frightened, just overwhelmed. Sloths aren't built for chaos. Their nervous systems are tuned differently from most mammals. When danger arises, they do not sprint. They slow down even more. Their heart rate drops. Their muscles loosen. Where other animals produce adrenaline, sloths produce calm. It's not fearlessness. It's energy conservation. Days pass. The baby gains more confidence. He ventures onto nearby branches without hesitation. He tastes the leaves of new trees. He studies insects that crawl along the bark. He watches a coiled vine uncurl as rainwater weighs it down. His world expands one cautious reach at a time. And slowly, the baby begins to understand the forest the way his mother always has. Not as a place to conquer, but as a place to move through peacefully. One morning, while the sun filters through the canopy in milky beams, the baby climbs farther than he ever has before. He crosses a branch that leads into a completely new tree, one with smoother bark and leaves that shimmer like silver coins in the breeze. He looks back. His mother remains still, resting on her familiar branch. She watches him, head turned slightly, eyes half closed. In that moment, trust stretches between them like a bridge. She has guided him here, step by slow step, and now he must learn the canopy on his own. He moves forward. In the new tree, the leaves are tougher. He tries one, grimaces, and lets it drop. His instincts drive him to search for more tender tips. He moves slowly, but deliberately, until he finds a patch of young foliage. He eats, and for the first time, he doesn't immediately return to his mother after feeding. He curls himself into a ball on the branch, tucking his head into his chest the way he has seen her do so many times. He sleeps. When he wakes, the afternoon rain has begun. Raindrops patter onto his fur, beads of water sliding down the strands like strings of glass. His fur directs the water away from his skin, just as it is designed to do. He shakes once, a slow, gentle shudder, and continues climbing. The rainforest changes as the baby sloth grows older. The sounds of cicadas swell. The humidity thickens. Fruit ripens, falls, and disappears as quickly as it arrived. The sloth learns to recognize the calls of the harpy eagle, the canopy's most powerful predator. A sharp whistle cuts through the trees, and the baby freezes, pressing himself flat against the branch. Stillness is survival. The eagle passes overhead, wings outstretched like the sails of a living ship. The bird is enormous, one of the largest eagles on the planet, able to snatch a sloth from a tree in a single dive. Its talons have the force of a bear trap. But the sloth does not move. His algae-blended fur disguises him among the leaves, while his lack of motion erases him from the eagle's memory. The predator glides past. The baby waits several minutes before taking his next breath.
Time moves differently for sloths. Moments stretch. Action narrows into deliberate intention.
Eventually, the rain stops. He climbs back toward his mother. Weeks turn to months. The baby grows strong enough to support his own weight. His muscles, once weak and tentative, now pull him easily between branches. He rarely slips anymore. One day, after feeding, he doesn't return to her branch. He drifts farther, exploring more trees. He sleeps on his own branch that night, curled tightly like a small ball of fur. His mother knows this moment was coming. Something in her posture softens, accepting. He isn't gone. He's growing. The next morning, he returns, clinging to her side briefly before climbing off again to continue exploring. This becomes their new rhythm, together, then apart, then together again. Each day, the distance increases. On one of his explorations, he encounters something unexpected, a gap in the canopy, a distance too wide to stretch across. He studies it. Below is open air and the suggestion of the forest floor, lost beneath mist. Sloths do not leap. They do not take risks. They analyze the world with patience until the correct path reveals itself. He turns and takes another route. This instinct will save his life more times than he could ever know. In time, his mother descends for her weekly ritual. By now, he's old enough to understand the danger. He stays high in the branches and watches, learning the pattern. Descend, dig, release, cover, return. When she climbs back into the canopy, she stops near him and rests. She no longer carries him. She no longer feeds him. But she lets him stay close. For many animals, independence arrives with separation. For sloths, it arrives with silence. Several days later, the young sloth wakes to a different morning. The canopy feels changed. The air is crisp and cooler. A new scent lingers, perhaps fruit rotting somewhere below, perhaps rain that has yet to fall. He climbs to a high branch and watches the sun burn through the mist. Then he turns toward a corridor of branches that leads deeper into the forest. His mother lies several trees away, half asleep, her fur blending into the bark. He looks at her for a long moment. There is no cry, no sound, no farewell. He simply turns and continues climbing. He will carve his own slow path now. His mother does not follow. She closes her eyes and rests, knowing the forest will teach him the rest. He moves deeper into the canopy, slow and steady. Leaves brush his fur as he passes. A warm breeze rustles the branches. Sunlight flickers between the leaves like soft applause. His claws hook. His body sways. His journey begins. Alone. Not lonely, just independent. He climbs on, into the vast emerald world that shaped him. The rainforest exhales, and the young sloth becomes part of the endless, patient rhythm of the canopy. Life continues, one deliberate movement at a time. He moves through the canopy with increasing confidence, tracing paths only sloths can sense. The forest canopy is a mosaic of branches, leaves, and vines, a shifting network that changes with storms, seasons, and growth. Where monkeys leap and birds glide, sloths read every branch like a test of balance and trust. He no longer stays near the tree he was born in. Each day, he travels just a bit farther, guided not by urgency, but by curiosity. Sloths are solitary by nature. Once independent, they rarely cross paths with their mothers again. The young sloth's world now expands into territories shaped by different trees, mahogany giants, towering kapok trunks, and thick tangles of strangler figs. He pauses at the trunk of one such fig. The tree coils like an ancient pillar, vines wrapped around its circumference as though the forest itself is holding it upright. Thousands of insects travel along its bark, and miniature worlds exist within every crevice. Ants carry tiny packets of soil. Termites move like audible static beneath thin layers of wood. Tiny frogs cling to the wet bark. The sloth touches it, not to examine, but to feel the vibrations of life within. He climbs, slowly Methodically, he makes his way into a new fold of the canopy. The branches here are heavier, sturdier. Moss grows on every surface, soft and cool beneath his claws. A faint scent of fruit lingers in the air. Above him hangs a cluster of ripe figs. Sloths rarely have the luxury of fresh fruit. In fact, most of their diet consists of tough leaves that take tremendous energy to digest. Fruit is a treat, a high-energy windfall. The young sloth pulls himself closer and takes a bite. His eyes close as the sweetness hits his tongue. For him, this is abundance. He eats slowly, savoring every bite. Below, a coatimundi sniffs at the base of the tree, searching for fallen fruit. Its striped tail twitches in rhythm with its movements. It stands on its hind legs and sniffs the air, aware that something else is feeding above. But the sloth remains motionless among the leaves, hidden, ignored, safe. Days blend into a rhythm of feeding, resting, climbing, and sleeping. The sun rises, the sun fades. The forest storms, the forest calms. One evening, a storm approaches. Unlike the others he has grown used to, the wind murmurs through the canopy with a sound that is unfamiliar, sharper, colder. Leaves twist backward, exposing their pale undersides. The birds grow restless, flitting from tree to tree with nervous calls. Even the insects pause. Pressure shifts. A moment later, the storm arrives. The sky erupts. Rain slams into the canopy with violent force, flattening leaves and pounding the branches like fists. Gusts of wind toss the treetops, bending them into sweeping arcs. Lightning arcs across the sky, turning the world white for fractions of a second. The young sloth clings tightly. His claws curve deeper into the branch as the wind whips his fur. Rain pours through the canopy in torrents, but he does not panic. Sloths do not have strong adrenaline responses. They don't react to fear the same way other animals do. Their instinct in danger is always to hold, to stay, to endure. Lightning cracks again, closer this time. A large branch above him breaks and crashes through the air. He moves, not fast, not impulsively, but with absolute precision. He slides his body along the branch, avoiding the falling debris. Rainwater streams down his face and into his fur. His algae layer, rich and thriving now, repels the water, wicking it away from his skin. He waits. He endures. When the storm finally weakens, the rainforest exhales. Water drips from every surface, forming countless tiny waterfalls through the lower branches. The air cools enough for mist to rise. The sloth shakes himself once, slowly, and moves on. Not far away, a break in the canopy reveals a river below. Brown, slow, winding. The storm has made it rise. It swells against its banks, pushing small logs and leaves down its surface. The sloth watches the movement, fluid, restless, the opposite of his existence. A strong branch stretches across the gap, leading toward new trees on the other side. But below, closer to the riverbank, another branch dangles low toward the water. The sloth, curious, begins his descent. He reaches the lower branch and pauses. His heart beats slowly. His muscles relax. He leans forward, stretching his long arm toward another hanging vine. He descends the last few feet and drops gently into the shallow water. The shock is immediate, not from cold, but from buoyancy. Sloths float. Their lungs are enormous, filling much of their ribcage, acting like a natural life jacket. With a few slow strokes of his arms, he begins to swim. Unlike on land, his movement becomes graceful, almost elegant. He glides through the surface like a furry boat, unhurried but competent. He crosses to the opposite bank. Climbing out, his claws sink into the soft mud. The sounds of frogs and insects fill the air around him. He shakes off droplets, then begins climbing a nearby palm, muscles working in a quiet rhythm. One branch, one breath, one moment at a time. The forest shifts color as evening settles into night. The deep greens become blues, shadows merging into a soft darkness. Fireflies blink in and out of existence along the forest floor. Somewhere nearby, a night monkey calls, a soft, questioning sound. The young sloth finds a branch that curves like a hammock and curls into it. His breathing slows. His heartbeat softens. He sleeps suspended above the world. In the early hours before dawn, a harpy eagle passes overhead. It scans the trees with focused eyes, searching for the slightest twitch of movement against the leaves. But the sloth is perfectly still. His algae-blended fur disappears into the shadows. The eagle moves on. As the sloth sleeps, his digestive system works through the leaves he ate earlier. It may take 30 days to pass a single meal. Patience is built into every part of his biology. The morning brings warmth again. He stretches, yawns silently, and begins another slow exploration of the branches above. He does not know how far he will travel today. He does not plan where he will end. He simply moves when it feels necessary. Slow is not a limitation. Slow is a lifestyle. Slow is a strategy. Slow is survival. He continues deeper into the rainforest, where new trees, new foods, new challenges, and new discoveries await him with each deliberate step. Somewhere unseen, another sloth calls, a distant whistle echoing through the canopy. He pauses. One claw hooks into the branch. He tilts his head and moves forward. Morning light filters gently into the upper canopy as the young sloth continues his exploration. Each dawn finds him in a new tree, a new corner of the rainforest, a new chapter of the slow adventure that will become his life. The air is warm and thick, fragrant with sap and crushed leaves. Drops of dew cling to his fur and sparkle like tiny beads of glass. His algae layer glows faintly green in the sun. He moves with a quiet sense of purpose, not in a straight line, but in a looping path that keeps him surrounded by dense foliage. The more he travels, the more deeply he learns the canopy's secrets, not through memory alone, but through instinct. Sloths map the forest by touch, not just sight. The thickness of a branch, the texture of bark, the subtle vibration of leaves in the wind, these sensations become his compass. He reaches for a young leaf and chews slowly. Though he is nearly fully weaned, he still prefers leaves with the soft texture of his mother's favorite trees. But today, the rainforest offers something unexpected. A flower, broad petals rich with nectar, hangs just above his reach. He stretches, hooks the stem delicately, and brings the blossom toward his mouth. He eats the entire flower. Its sweetness surprises him. A small burst of energy, as if sunlight itself were condensed into the petals. Below him, rustling signals motion. A tapir passes beneath the canopy, shuffling through fallen leaves. Tapirs are gentle giants of the rainforest, heavy-bodied plant eaters, with noses shaped like short trunks. The sloth peers downward at the tapir the way a quiet observer might study a stranger on a passing street.
For a moment, their worlds overlap.
The tapir sniffs the air, unaware of the sloth resting above. Then it wanders off toward a stream, disappearing into a curtain of ferns. The sloth blinks, slowly, thoughtfully, and resumes eating. While he feeds, a subtle shift is occurring around him. The air grows warmer, more stagnant. Clouds stack on the horizon. The seasonal rhythm of the forest is changing. The wet season is approaching. Months of rain and growth, of abundance and challenge. He climbs without urgency, finding the perfect branch to rest upon. Sloths do not waste energy seeking ideal trees. They sample leaves and move on if needed. They are opportunists of patience. As he settles, the sky dims. The storm arrives with no warning. Wind flattens the canopy. Heavy drops slam into leaves, turning the rainforest into a symphony of drumming water. Lightning flashes, illuminating the sloth for a moment as a silhouette against the chaotic sky. But he remains calm. His slow responses are not a vulnerability. They are evolutionary design. A sloth's heart does not race. His breathing does not quicken. His body understands storms. His ancestors survived millions of years of storms just like this. The rain pours over him like a waterfall. Hours later, the storm breaks. The rainforest glows with new life. Streams form between roots. Small waterfalls spill over moss-covered logs. Frogs call loudly to one another, celebrating the sudden abundance of moisture. The sloth moves again, drawn by a scent carried through the wet air. Fresh leaves. He follows their fragrance across intertwining branches. The canopy opens unexpectedly, revealing an enormous kapok tree at the forest's center. This tree is ancient, older than the sloth, older than the storm that just passed, older than the animals who come and go beneath its roots. He climbs toward it. The branches are thick, woven with vines. Insects buzz around large red blossoms that drip with nectar. Fruit bats feed on the blooms as twilight deepens. One bat swoops near the sloth, unsettled by his sudden presence, but soon returns to its feast. The sloth moves slowly between them. He grips a blossom and pulls it close. He licks droplets of nectar with surprising delicacy. A sudden rush of sugar enters his system, a rare treat in his leaf-based world. His head tilts slightly as he consumes it, savoring the taste. With his appetite satisfied, he settles into the curve of a branch and rests. He does not know that soon this tree will connect him to the next part of his story. Time passes. The young sloth explores new territory, learning which branches hold firm and which snap, which leaves are nutritious and which leave him feeling sluggish. He learns to recognize the sounds of predators, the flutter of owl wings, the almost silent glide of the harpy eagle. He understands stillness better than any creature alive. Stillness is armor. Stillness is invisibility. Stillness is life. He rests in an area where dense foliage forms a protective green ceiling above him. Even rain cannot penetrate. Here, the sloth sleeps deeply, lulled by the low hum of insects. Then, one afternoon, he hears something different, a sound not like wind, not like rain, a soft whistling call, steady, rising, then falling.
Another sloth.
Female. The sound carries through the canopy, weaving between layers of leaves, resonating like a secret. His ears, small, hidden beneath fur, twitch. He lifts his head. He listens again.
There it is, a melodic whistle, rhythmic and unmistakable.
He moves toward it, not quickly, not impulsively. His body remains relaxed, each movement deliberate. But his path is direct. The canopy becomes familiar beneath him, as though the forest itself is guiding his way. He travels most comfortably at night, using the darkness to shield his movements. Moonlight filters through breaks in the leaves, revealing patches of his algae-tinted fur like dim jewels. He reaches a new set of trees and pauses. There, resting in a nest of leaves, is a female sloth. Not his mother, not a stranger, a possibility. She watches him with soft, patient eyes. Sloths do not rush these moments. Their interactions are gentle and brief, just like the rhythm of their lives. He moves closer. She does not move away. They meet with the quiet familiarity of two creatures who share the same philosophy. Nothing in life needs to be hurried. They touch noses, a gesture that signifies acknowledgement, not possession. They remain together for several days, resting near each other, sharing branches, moving between trees in slow synchrony. Then one morning, she climbs away, following her own path through the canopy. He watches her leave. There is no chase, no tension, no heartbreak. Sloths do not cling to what leaves. Instead, he turns back toward the kapok tree, where new blossoms have begun to form. He feeds, rests, and continues exploring his territory. Something in him has shifted, not in a rush, but gradually, like growth rings forming inside a tree trunk. Time becomes fluid. Days blend into weeks. He grows stronger. The wet season reaches its peak. Rivers overflow. Foliage grows thicker and more nutritious. Fruit becomes abundant for short windows. The sloth embraces it when nature offers it, and returns to leaves when it doesn't. One late afternoon, as rain begins to fall, the sloth descends lower than usual, attracted by a cluster of fallen fruit near the riverbank. He eats slowly, savoring the rich pulp. He doesn't notice the ripple in the water, not at first. A caiman, silent, ancient, surfaces just beneath the ripples. Its nostrils flare. Its eyes track the sloth's movement. Sloths see poorly. Sloths hear gently, but sloths sense vibration. He feels something. He stops, completely still. The caiman inches closer. A faint wake spreads behind it. Its body moves without sound. The sloth remains motionless. The caiman waits. Minutes pass. Finally, the predator decides. No movement means no opportunity. The caiman sinks beneath the water like a fading nightmare. The sloth waits 20 breaths before moving again. Then he climbs back into the safety of the trees, dripping with river water and rain but unharmed. The canopy welcomes him back. He climbs higher, settles into a cradle of branches, and watches as the rain slows into a fine mist. The storm fades. The forest calms. Night returns, wrapping the world in darkness. From somewhere behind him, another soft whistle travels through the trees. Not a call for him, just a song of existence, a declaration of presence. He closes his eyes and rests. He is not fast, but he is patient. He is not fierce, but he is enduring. He moves through life not by conquering the forest, but by harmonizing with it. The night passes, slow and steady. And once again, when morning comes, he climbs forward into a world that rewards those who never rush. The first warmth of morning touches the canopy and wakes him with a gentle rise of breath. He stretches one arm, then another, each movement a careful arc drawn through the air. The forest is different today, not in a dramatic way, but in the subtle rhythm of insects, the tone of birdsong, the distant hush of a river running a little lower than before. The wet season has begun to taper. Leaves are tougher at the edges. Flowers are fewer. This is the time when a sloth's patience becomes more than a choice. It becomes a tool. He turns toward a familiar corridor of branches he has traveled many times. The bark here is mottled and soft with lichens. He moves along it like a slow constellation, star to star, pause to pause, until he reaches a pocket of foliage that still offers young growth. Sloths learn these places the way navigators memorize currents. They carry maps in their tendons and memory in their claws. He feeds quietly, taking the tips of leaves where nutrition is richest. His mouth works with measured precision, and the long journey of digestion begins again. Inside him, bacteria set to work in a fermenting dance, breaking down fibers most mammals would surrender to. This partnership is ancient, a living inheritance from ancestors who chose stillness over speed and found a way to thrive on what the forest always has to spare: leaves. A green iguana shifts nearby, its spines a crown of dawn-lit thorns. It eyes the sloth without concern, then resumes its slow bask. The two are neighbors of temperament, connoisseurs of warmth and still afternoons, each with a different script for survival. The iguana relies on sun and speed when pressed. The sloth relies on invisibility and grip. As the day warms, he moves higher, threading through a tangle of vines that sway like braided ropes. A breeze travels the canopy, carrying the scent of drying earth and something faintly sweet. He pauses to listen to the forest's unending classroom, a woodpecker hammering a hollow trunk, a far-off crash of fruit dropping, the almost musical clatter of leafcutter ants transporting harvest to their fungal farms. Each sound is a note in a score he has heard since birth. He remembers, if a sloth can be said to remember in the way we do, how the kapok tree fed him when flowers were abundant, how the fig sustained him when leaves were thin. There is pattern in the forest's generosity, and he has learned to move in gentle orbit around it. Today, the cecropias will do. Tomorrow, perhaps the inga tree with its soft new leaves. He is not choosy, he is precise. By midday, clouds pile faintly on the horizon, but do not gather the weight of a storm. The light turns languid. He chooses a branch shaped like a cradle and tucks himself into it, lowering his head until his chin brushes his chest. Sleep for a sloth is not a plunge into darkness, but a long shore of drifting, shallow, patient. He dozes, wakes, dozes again, dreaming, perhaps, in the slow-motion textures of leaves and gravity, and the safe geometry of bark beneath his claws. Later, hunger returns with the softness of a suggestion. He moves. A meter forward may take him many breaths, but the time is not empty. On a neighboring limb, a mantled howler monkey lifts its face and lets out a roar that rolls like a drumbeat across the trees. The sound is both warning and proclamation. This is our place. And yet it only grazes the sloth's awareness. Territorial lines mean little to a creature no one competes with. He is not after fruit caches that spark conflicts. He is not after mates that must be defended. He is after leaves, quiet and plentiful, and a branch that holds. He selects a new spray of foliage and resumes the slow work of eating. A tiny moth dusts his fur and disappears. A bead of water slides along the groove of a hair and drops soundlessly into the shade below. In his coat, a miniature universe hums. Algae that color him green in wet months. Moths that ride his slow life cycle down to the forest floor and back up again. Microbes that make meals from cellulose. Carry the forest, and the forest will carry you. That seems to be the pact written in the nap of his fur. As dusk draws near, the air cools and the light turns copper. Fruit bats begin their purposeful flights. A kinkajou flows along a neighboring branch, pausing to investigate a cluster of flowers. The sloth keeps still, head tilted as if considering a deep question. Night is no enemy to him. His world is as tactile as it is visual, He understands the branch by the way it answers his weight, knows the vine by the slight rasp against his wrist. He moves a little, then stops, then moves a little more, like a tide advancing a millimetre at a time. In the distance, the faint whistle of another sloth floats through the darkening canopy. He listens. It is not a call meant for him, but it draws his attention the way a lighthouse draws the eye from a safe harbour. Acknowledgement, reassurance, a sign that his kind persists across the ocean of leaves. He lowers his head and rests. The next morning brings a brittle quality to the air, the sort of clarity that arrives when humidity ebbs. The seasonal pendulum continues its swing. Some trees flush with new growth as others harden their leaves against thirst. He adjusts, as he always does, by doing less. His great adaptation is not to change the world to suit him, but to change himself to fit the world. Energy intake narrows. Energy spend narrows to match. He does not chase abundance because abundance will return, and he will be here when it does. A line of army ants advances along a branch beneath him, turning bark into a temporary highway. Lizards flee, spiders lift their eggs, and small creatures that cannot move are swallowed by the brown river. The sloth watches, a quiet witness. When the ants reach his position, he is already above them, a statue in slow transit, not something a tide might cling to or overturn. By afternoon, the sun presses warm palms on the treetops. He drifts toward a cecropia he does not visit often, drawn by the telltale paler green of new leaves. As he arrives, an European dollar swoops past, its call a clear liquid note that echoes from a hanging nest, shaped like a woven teardrop. The bird spooks at his sudden nearness. Sloths appear not where speed could have brought them, but where patience made space, and then settles again, unconcerned. They occupy the same coordinates for a time, each dedicated to a craft, one to weaving air into nurseries, the other to weaving hours into sustenance. He eats, he rests, he moves. Each action occupies the exact time it needs and not a breath more. Toward evening, the river that once welcomed him back into the trees comes into view again, a ribbon of bronze winding through a green maze. Water level has dropped, revealing sandbars like pale tongues and roots that clutch the bank like gnarled hands. He climbs down through the lower canopy and pauses on a branch that leans above the water. The memory of buoyancy hums in his body. He lowers himself slowly until claws touch the cool surface. Then he releases a breath and slides in. He swims in that steady, deliberate stroke sloths have perfected. The motion neither elegant nor clumsy, but exactly what it must be. On the far side, he rises dripping and heavy, mud sucking lightly at his toes until bark gives him back his traction. Night takes the forest again. It always will. He finds a cradle branch, hooks in, gathers himself, and the world shrinks to a gentle rocking and the quiet arithmetic of digestion inside him. The stars beyond the canopy are invisible, but their presence is not. He sleeps. The following days bring an experiment in scarcity. Leaves he favors grow higher than usual, beyond a reach he will not hazard across a risky gap. A clutch of flowers appears and is emptied by bats before he arrives. He loses nothing by missing them, because the sloth's ledger is balanced in weeks, not minutes. He samples what is available, the tough leaves of a palm, the fresh flush on a sapling elbowing for light beneath a fallen giant, a handful of tender tips that a storm has delivered into a lower tier. He is never truly empty and never truly full. He floats between those shores like a raft anchored just offshore. A harpy eagle crosses the sky, its shadow slicing the canopy like a moving wound. The sloth goes immobile so completely that even his breath seems to obey. The eagle's head tilts. Its eyes search the green plain for the betrayal of motion. There is none. Predator and prey are engaged in an old exchange governed by physics and patience. The eagle drifts on. Motion resumes the smallest claim it can make. The sloth continues. One late afternoon, as he tucks himself against a bough, he hears a sound that does not belong to thunder or river or animal, an odd droning, faint and intermittent. The noise passes far away, then fades into nothing. The forest closes around the absence, knitting it with wind and insect hymns. He returns to the slow pulse of life he knows. If danger had a signature beyond the ancient ones he understands, it has already passed. In the cool early hours, mist stretches itself thinly between trunks and vanishes as the first light pours into the leaves. A pair of tamarins flits by, miniature acrobats with quick conversations. The sloth tilts his head as they pass, absorbing their urgency with a kind of kind curiosity. He does not envy them. He does not prefer them. He exists beside them, orthogonal to the straight line that rush draws through the world. On this day, a prize waits. A young inga branch pushing new leaflets, like small hands opening. He tests the twig. It answers with the right mixture of spring and strength. He leans, catches the petiole with a hook of claw, and draws it in. The taste is quietly generous, a soft green that seems to ask nothing in return. He eats until the pleasure becomes habit, and then stops. Enough is a word his body understands without being taught. As the season advances, he begins to carry a different weight, the invisible geometry of a territory. Not a defended space, not lines carved by conflict, but a web of trees he knows will give when he needs them. He cycles through them not in patrol, but in ritual. The fig that fruits late, the palm that offers shade when the sun clenches, the cecropia that grows leaves naive and tender after every storm. In this way, he becomes, quietly, an adult, an archivist of edible green, a librarian of safe branches. One evening, a soft whistle threads the canopy, and this time it arrives close enough to pull his gaze. He answers not with sound, but with a shift of direction. When he finds her, she is draped across a bough shaped to cradle, her fur washed deeper green by frequent rain. They approach by increments. They share a branch. They share stillness. They share a long, unremarkable, perfect hour in which nothing happens and everything necessary occurs. When they part, no drama stains the air. The story notes the moment and lets it ease into the background the way a vine claims an old branch slowly, until the branch and vine are a single thing. Rain returns one night in a sheet, and with it the bright-lipped chorus of tree frogs. He moves through the wet like a thought, not disturbing it, not arguing with it. Water slicks his fur and finds its way along the upward combs of his hairs until gravity takes it, and the drop is gone. In the morning, a sunbeam finds a bead still clinging. It glows on his cheek and then falls. He descends for his weekly business, the ritual that connects the sky to the soil. He chooses his place with the same care he chooses a branch. He digs, relieves, covers. Insects that ride his fur lift off and spin in small dances to their next stage. The cycle resets. Nothing about the ceremony is waste. It is all exchange. When he returns to the trees, he is a little lighter, a little emptier, and entirely himself. As drought edges closer, a different kind of endurance begins. He moves less, rests longer, places his body where the breeze has a habit of arriving even when the air is stingy. He narrows his leaf choices and chews them twice as long. He waits for evening before crossing open saddles between crowns. He yields to the season and, in yielding, outlasts it. Sloths have worn this patience for millions of years, when jaguars were abundant, when harpy eagles ruled undisputed, when trees he will never climb were saplings. The forest has always asked for patience, and he has always given it. One hot twilight, as heat loosens its grip and coolness tiptoes back, the canopy gives him a small ceremony, flowers opening at once along a branch he has passed all day without noticing. Their scent arrives like a gentle bell. Bats answer. Insects gather. He leans and takes one bloom, not to gorge, but to participate, a member of the quiet audience who applauds without clapping. He sleeps again. He wakes again. He carries the same heart from one day to the next, beating with a calm that could lull even the wind. His life is not a tale of conquest, but of continuity. He will not build. He will not hoard. He will not sprint. He will be here. He will be present. He will be so perfectly matched to his forest that disappearance and survival become the same act. Morning presses its warm palm to the leaves once more. He lifts his head and tastes the air. Somewhere a branch has fallen. The smell of torn green whispers from below. Somewhere a fruit has burst and was discovered. Somewhere a monkey told the same story louder than yesterday. He notes these things without collecting them. His task is small and immense. Take the next reach. Trust the next hold. Take the next leaf. Rest in the next shade. He moves. He chooses a path that carries him along the edge of light, where sun and shadow trade custody of the bark. A breeze braids itself through the crown and brings him, from far away, the slender echo of a whistle that could be another sloth, or only the forest, rehearsing a note it loves. He leans into his branch as if leaning into a sentence he knows the end of, and then he goes slowly, flawlessly, into the green that has always been waiting for him. The sloth climbs toward a new branch, the forest drifting around him in its endless rhythm. His movements, still slow and measured, now hold the confidence of experience. He is no longer the hesitant youngster clinging to his mother. His grip is strong, his path deliberate. He knows which branches bend and which hold, which trees offer nourishment and which offer only shade. He pauses as a breeze sweeps through the canopy. Leaves ripple like green waves. Insects scatter into the drifting light, and the sloth closes his eyes, letting the warm air move through his fur. For a moment, everything in the rainforest seems to hold still, not because the world has stopped moving, but because he has chosen to. He continues climbing, one careful reach at a time. The forest below is a tapestry of sound. Distant monkey calls, the steady hum of insects, water whispering against polished stones in the riverbed. But he moves above it all, as though carried by the trees themselves. Birds come and go with bursts of energy. Squirrels flicker past him like sparks of motion. Yet he remains untouched by their urgency. He has mastered the ancient art of enough. He reaches a branch that curves into a perfect cradle. Sunlight filters through the leaves, casting patterns across his fur, a mosaic of green and gold. The algae that once colored him faintly now look like an intentional ember of the rainforest, a gentle mark of belonging. He rests. Below him, life continues its ceaseless dance. The rainforest does not know autumn or winter the way seasons are understood elsewhere. Only cycles of rain and growth, scarcity and abundance. But he has lived through all of them. He has learned when to move, when to wait, when to trust. He has learned that survival is not always a race.
Sometimes survival is presence.
The air cools as clouds weave across the sky. A brief drizzle begins, soft and cleansing. Water gathers along the grooves of his fur and runs off in delicate threads. He blinks slowly, eyes reflecting the dull sheen of rain. This moment, quiet, simple, unhurried, is enough. As the rain fades, a hush settles over the forest. In the distance, a soft whistle echoes. Another sloth announcing their presence, somewhere beyond branches and vines that stretch toward horizons he has yet to explore. He tilts his head, listening, acknowledging, not as a call, not as a summons, just as a reminder. He is not alone. He shifts his weight and looks outward toward the vastness of the canopy, where mist clings to leaves like silver cloth. Every path he has taken led here, every cautious reach, every slow movement, every moment of stillness. In a world where speed is worshipped, he found peace in taking life one breath at a time. He closes his eyes. Above him, the sky opens just enough to let a final ray of sunlight spill across his back. The forest glows for a heartbeat, alive and shimmering. He exhales, slow, steady, certain, and the rainforest exhales with him. Here, suspended between earth and sky, held by the quiet certainty of his claws, the sloth rests. Tomorrow he will move again, following leaves and instinct, guided by nothing more than patience and sunlight. Because life in the rainforest is not measured in speed, it is measured in presence. The forest darkens. Crickets begin their nocturnal chorus. A gentle wind sets the leaves swaying like soft applause. And somewhere in the treetops, a sloth, unhurried and unbothered, lets the world continue without him. He sleeps. The canopy wraps around him like a cradle, and the rainforest breathes him into dreams. Thank you for joining us tonight, here on Wild Dreams. Sleep well, sleep deeply, and may your dreams move just as gently.